Welcome to podcast number 55. Gosh, 55 Ken Hill podcasts. Pretty amazing. And once again, thank you to all the people that have written in, people that have donated. Thank you very much. And we're going to keep doing these. I've got. It seems like I have this ever-growing list of podcast topics to do, and it's pretty amazing. So as I look at the stats for this. I've been doing this for about a year and a half, 55 podcasts and over 300,000 listens. Yeah, pretty amazing. So still no sponsor. Still no new car for Ken. None of that stuff. But that's okay. The only way that we're going to grow the sport is one rider at a time. And, I do certainly hope at some point that we realize that with these podcasts, for example, we're touching at least people 300,000 times. And that's really the only way that we're going to keep people in the sport is to show that there is a trajectory to get better. And it is, these wives' tales and these internet stories, just essentially don't hold truth. So there's a right way of doing it, and this is how it's done. So this podcast starts with a topic that has sort of been growing on me for a long time. And as I collect more data with all the riders that I work with, and teach them and watch how other people teach, how other people, quote, coach. What we look at is, somebody will say, dude, you know what? You just need to get on the gas harder, or, oh, you can totally accelerate more. Well, acceleration issues come from braking issues. And that's what this podcast is all about. You want to get better at accelerating? Great, practice your brakes. That's what it boils down to, is that people that lack confidence in acceleration is because they don't have a way to offset. They don't have a way to mitigate that acceleration. It's a hope that it works. I mean, for the people that are riding, big fast bikes, yeah, it's scary. It's absolutely thrilling, but I want to know that if I'm going to accelerate, then the opposite is going to happen, right? I'm going to be able to slow down. So what we lack is knowledge on braking. It's amazing to me, and again, it's so frustrating when I see people teaching acceleration when braking has never even come up. It boggles the mind. I still also get mind boggled over teaching people to decelerate without brakes. And I don't understand. I don't understand this. The front brake is the most powerful component on the bike, and we're not practicing it enough, and we're not doing enough about it. So this podcast, you want to accelerate better, practice your brakes. And it does not matter if you're a new rider. I just did a 2-day school, a novice school, and we worked with this. And the amount of eyes that had been opened, people said, "Oh my gosh." And then the instructors would come up to me and they would say, these people are dropping, 10, 20 seconds a lap. And I never talk to them about acceleration, ever. Acceleration becomes a natural byproduct of this is when you start to practice your braking. So newer riders that are, doesn't matter if you're street rider, track rider, these same things are the exact same things that I teach my Moto America riders, my professional racers. We work on brakes, right? We want to make that more precise. New riders, you got to work on a lot. People that are coaching other riders or training other riders, you're not working on braking enough. So yeah, I guess I should shut up and let that be my job security. But the bottom line is we're not teaching people brakes enough. So okay, a little bit of that rant over. Let's dive into this. So yeah, so why are the brakes important, right? Right. Well, okay, let's break down brakes. No pun intended. The first one's speed control, right? You got to slow the dang thing down, right? Modern bikes are so insanely fast, so crazy fast. Fastest accelerating production vehicle, still a motorcycle. So there's some cars that are getting close though. So we got to watch that. But you got to control your speed. Bottom line, right? Straight up and down, you're going to control your speed. As you turn in, you take the bike off center. Then we're talking about the brakes, thinking about them being used more for geometry control, direction control. Yes, you're still mitigating speed, but we're thinking about it once you turn in as geometry control. Using your brakes slows your bike in less time and distance, period. Right? Try rolling off the throttle, right? Try rolling off the throttle and see how that deceleration works. It's worrisome, right? You don't have a way to mitigate that speed. So using the brakes guarantees you will slow down. It absolutely guarantees it. It also allows adjustability for different corner radiuses, grip levels, speed, all these different things. Brakes are one of the biggest comforting factors when riding a bike, because accelerating is very, very fun, but we want to be able to offset that. So before we get into a little bit further, I think this is a great time for people to realize braking, the technique of braking. This is a developed skill. This is a skill. This is something that you're not born with. It's not something that, one day you wake up or you read some fad on the internet. No. This is a developed skill. This is something you have to work on. There's so many different analogies, and with the people that we work with at a high level, it's in my peer group, we talk about it's an acquired skill, just like, pulling the trigger on a gun or flying an airplane, how they essentially use the stick with that. All those things are the same. This is a developed skill. It's a perishable skill. So if we're not staying up to speed on it, if we're not practicing it, then you're not going to, at least think about it, you're not going to maintain where you're at, or you're not going to get better at it. So this is something that we have to work on. I'm still doing 70 plus track days a year, or 70 days with the Rick days. I'm riding a lot still. Guess what I do every time before I ride? I practice my braking. I practice my motor controls. So we're going to tell you about how you can do this and get better at your braking so you can accelerate better. And the first thing is, let's talk about how this ties into the order of the sport, because I think this is a big point. And as I mentioned earlier, is we need to show that there's a trajectory for getting better in the sport. As far as braking, as far as working on your braking as it relates to the order of the sport, let's go through it. So with bike placement, it allows more precise and consistent bike placement. How great would that be? You want to guarantee where the bike is on the entry, in the middle of the corner, the slow point of the corner, the apex. You want to get it ready to accelerate earlier, harder, fantastic. We're going to work on the brakes to make that happen. So that's how it works with bike placement. With vision and focus. So with vision and focus, really the way this ties in is your depth perception. And there's some other things in there, but the one that kind of overlying one with this is your depth perception. We need to get our depth perception engaged so you can use your brakes the way you need to. The funny part is when you drive a car, you're doing this every day when you drive your car, but we're not doing this on our bike. So we need to work on this on our motorcycles as well. So with vision and focus, it really ties our depth perception in. Third one, motor controls. So why is motor controls ahead of brake adjustability? So you can adjust. So you've got to be able to have adjustability with your motor controls so you can have brake adjustability. So this is why we work so hard on motor controls. And I can tell you one of the things that we worked on in the off season with, basically most of the top 5 or top 10, Moto America racers in the series right now, we worked on their motor controls. So if you're thinking that this is something lost, it's not. We're trying to make it more precise so you can have adjustability. And then of course we have brake adjustability, which is part of what we're talking about. And the more adjustable that you can be with the brakes, the more you can accelerate for that particular situation. So brake adjustability. Now we have turn-in rate and turn-in point. So this is also how this relates to braking, and how this relates to your situations with braking is it helps you adjust for the different corner radiuses. So when you look at a tighter radius corner, you can affect your turn-in rate and turn-in point by how much brake pressure you're using. It absolutely ties in with that. And so getting better on your brakes will allow you to be able to adjust better for some of these different turn-in rates and turn-in points that we need, right? Not all corners are the same. Wouldn't it be great to be adjustable for it? And the last one's body position. And well, we see this a lot. And the reason that we see this a lot is having the right body position on corner entry, pause, so you can be adjustable with the brakes. It absolutely ties in there that if you're sitting in the middle of the seat, you're going to overslow your entry. You got weight on your hand, you're going to overslow your entry because you're not allowing your hand to work the way it needs to. So body position absolutely ties into that. So I wanted to go through the order of the sport with this because all of this absolutely ties into all those different things. Okay, so now I've beaten you all up on that quite a bit. So great. How the hell do we do it? How do we get better at our braking? Well, I said it initially, you got to practice it. Okay, great. How the hell do we practice it? We got to start some brake drills. And there's a variety of brake drills that you can mess with. And the first one you think, well, gosh, I can't go to the track every day. Yeah, you don't need to go to the track every day. You can do these, you can start this in your garage. So if you want to get better at this sport, take 30 seconds a day, go in your garage, take your bike off the center stand, and roll your bike back and forth in neutral and work on your initial braking and your end of braking. So as you roll your bike back and forth, start to feel those brake pads engage the rotors, and then work that brake lever in and out to feel initial braking. You can also develop brake feel by sitting there rolling your bike back and forth. Put the brake on, leave the brake on, so those pads are just up against the rotor so the bike still rolls even though the brake is on. Develop this feel. This is where it all starts. You can also work on your eyes and your depth perception with this. Go to the brakes, move your head, sitting in your garage, move your head and look out to an imaginary corner and then scan your eyes back. You just engaged your depth perception. So these are things that you can work on with your bike not even going in your garage. And then, yeah, you can go to a parking lot. At every one of our RIC days, every single one of our RIC days, we spend time, and it doesn't matter the level of the rider, whether they're brand new or whether they're winning Moto America races, we work on our brake drill. What we simply do is we work on initial brakes, we work on end of braking, and then we start to work on the middle part of our braking. You can call it threshold braking, maximum braking, whatever you want. We start to add that component to it. But we start off with our initial brakes, our end of brakes, initial brakes, end of brakes. As our grip level comes up, you can start to develop some front tire feel. We can start to develop some feel with the fork and see how that's working. So you can practice this in a parking lot. And then you can actually work on this with your eyes as well. You can go to your brakes, and then you can start thinking about where you're letting off the brakes. And you can put, we put cones out, but you can literally put anything out there to start gauging your braking. Bottom line is you have to practice this. You have to practice this. And if you're riding on the track, spend the 3 or 4 minutes, go out in a blank section of the hot pits or parking lot or whatever, and warm up your drill, warm up your motor controls. It makes such a big difference instead of just jumping out on track and thinking that you're going to find that type of precision, because it's very difficult to. The other one that we work on in this is work in your car. When we explain this drill initially, we do it in a car. And we'll do the brake drill in the car, and we'll work on initial brakes, end of braking. We'll start building brake pressure. It makes such a big difference. So practice your braking, and you can practice it in a car. So do your brake drills. Do them in your garage. Do them in a parking lot. Do them in your car in a parking lot. Practice them before you go out on your street ride. Practice them before you do your dirt bike ride. Practice braking. The more proficient that you can get at your braking, the acceleration literally will take care of itself, because you have a way to be able to adjust. Once you get into that and you start working at your days, whether you're racing or track days, and you can start really looking at, okay, where am I letting off the brakes? But now you have a way to figure out how you can change where you're letting off the brakes, brake up based on where you go to the brakes, based on your end of braking. So it makes such a big difference with that. Again, you can also look at, shorter radius corner. Oh, I need to add more brake pressure here. Well, now you have a way of adding more brake pressure instead of just having one way of going to the brakes. So remember, we don't want to be the rider that you go to the brakes the same way for every corner, because if that happens, then you're kind of assuming that every corner is the same, and they're not. Not every situation is the same. And it's what I said earlier, it's developing that adjustability for different radius corners, grip levels, speed, the whole bit. So braking, practice your braking. Practice your braking a lot. You want to get better at accelerating? That front brake has got to be your friend.
Copyright 2018, Ken Hill Coaching, all rights reserved.